Hello, hello, beautiful people, mi gente bella. Welcome to another edition of Santana Says, where we talk about everything from Roblox to relationships, everything in between, and the overall journey of a life. I'm excited as always to bring you another edition of the show, but also another wonderful guest. And I am super pumped because August has been full of things, y'all. Celebrations, back to school. My babies are back to school, y'all. I don't know about y'all, but it was super cute. So I had our little first day of school photos, but it's still Black Business Month also. So we gonna bring y'all another dope business. And I'm excited because they're women, run businesses too. Cause we gonna have that little double extra. But I mean, again, shout out to all the male entrepreneurs as well. All the other identities is also, but I'm also excited that we happen to have that today. So Miss Ma'am, could you tell us who are you, a little bit about you, brought you here?
I'm Javon Gray. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I have 3 children, 1 husband, 1 dog.
Oh dang! Everybody up in there.
Right. That's who all up in the household. But of course, I'm a daughter. I'm a community member. I'm a sister. I'm a cousin. I'm a friend.
Hey.
So business wise, I'm a certified nurse midwife. I used to work in the hospitals catching babies there, and recently, it's almost 2 years ago.
Hey.
Moved out of the hospital sector to work in homes and help people catch their babies at home.
Nice. And that's dope. See, so then, and I know, well, I get to cheat though, because I do know some of your history. Right. Went to college together, y'all. So this is my college up in here. But I do know you had nursing, and so you studied nursing and all that.
I did.
But was the goal to always just have a nursing career? First of all, when did you know you wanted to do nursing?
Right, take it all the way back.
Yeah, let's start there.
All right, so in full transparency, I didn't know what in the world I wanted to do
Feel it.
most of my life, right? So I knew that I didn't want to just work at Wendy's for the rest of my life. That's what I was doing at the time.
Oh, dang, Wendy's.
When I graduated, which was not a bad job.
No,
I actually learned a lot.
Right.
And I learned how hard I could work, what motivated me to work harder. So I learned a lot about myself in that job. Love that job. Shout out to Wendy's.
Yeah. Well, no, and then, and I know a couple kids that are in my high school who just got jobs at Wendy's.
Yeah.
It's a great place to start. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, hey.
Exactly. Especially for where you at for your skill level and everything. So
heck yeah.
I knew I didn't want to do that though forever.
Right.
For me personally. So I was actually sitting in a library at my high school. And there was a college readiness program that was going on, and we just went around the table and they were asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I guess we was already grown, but what do you want to do with your life?
Right.
And 2 people before me, this girl was like, I want to be a neonatal nurse.
Okay.
And it just sounded like something that was cool.
Yeah,
exactly. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what that meant. And I didn't even really know if I was pronouncing it right. But when it came to me, so the person next to me said that.
Yep.
And then I said that. So it was 3 of us in a row claiming we wanted to be a neonatal nurse.
Okay.
I don't know about the girl who was next to me. She was actually a close friend of mine. At the time, I don't know about her, but for me, for sure, I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
It just sounded cool. But that led to the chick in the middle. Asking her mom about it, her mom getting us, and for people who don't know, a neonatal nurse is a nurse who takes care of the really small babies, often premature babies.
I actually didn't know myself, so I was like, what is that again?
It's an intensive care unit for babies that are, freshly born or born with some sort of issues and wind up staying there longer. And her mom wound up getting us a shadowing experience there. And it just sort of went from there. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool.
Right.
I can do that. Right. I think I want to be a nurse now. Sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Sounds good.
Type deal. And so I started nursing school from there. That is pretty much what happened throughout my life. Is that I would just follow weird hunches, and I would just go on these adventures.
Okay.
And it will always work out. And that's why, of course, people always say, you need to know what you do, what you want to do, you need to have this and that direction. But I think that the most important quality that you could possibly have is believing in yourself, right? And your ability to figure it out and to fall on your feet, because that's literally all I had.
Yeah. Hey.
That's all I had, and
Yep.
everything works out. And it's like everywhere that I go, I realize that I'm in the place that I'm supposed to be in, like the perfect position, for where it is I want my life to go, right? And it's just always ideal for me. Every trip.
Yeah, not bad, but agreeably, and it's not bad to take direction. So even if it was that way, so I like how it was kind of accidental, but like hey, it did work out. But I definitely agree with the believing in yourself piece. So I feel like now, having said that, have you always been confident enough to believe in your own ability, or how has your journey been with that?
Okay, so I feel like there's for sure a spectrum, right?
Yes, of course.
I definitely tend to lean toward the I can do anything.
Okay. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Side of the
let's
spectrum.
do it. Yep. Like
but
it.
sometimes, like I have had imposter syndrome where, like, not as much when I finished like my general nursing degree and I started off in the intensive care unit.
Okay.
So I said I wanted to be a neonatal nurse.
Right.
I decided that I wanted to become a midwife while I was in college. So I started off as a ICU nurse.
Right.
And that was fine.
Right.
Like I knew that all the stuff that I needed to know in order to make this career work.
Yes.
Like I got this.
Right. Always.
I ain't have shit, but
but to me, I got it.
But definitely felt like I got this.
Right.
And I knew I could learn. Did fine. Once I graduated as a midwife, I felt like there was more responsibility in that position, a lot more, to the point where I was a little bit more intimidated by the responsibility, like the amount of responsibility that I had. So I definitely had a bit more of I felt like they gave me this big thing to do, and I was going to try, but I didn't quite know if I had it right. And so it took a lot of feedback from the women who I would see, the pregnant women who would come in and who would allow me to take care of them, and who would say, like,
oh yeah,
I want to see you again.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff,
yeah, right.
When they had all of the people to choose from and that type of thing, colleagues and stuff giving me feedback for me to move more toward the, like, I got this type of spectrum. And I mean, it also took me seeing that other people were just people.
Yeah.
Right.
At the end of the day. Yeah.
That were doing things.
Yep.
Right. Like the doctors who were working around me, other midwives, people from in all different levels were people who were all practicing at life. Absolutely. and just trying to get it right. So once I realized that there was no like special gene that you needed to have in order to like take good care of people and to think critically and to really actually be beneficial as a provider to people.
Right.
It was a wrap from there.
Okay. Absolutely. And I feel like, and I love hearing, that it was that and all that, you were able to arrive to that and be able to have that validation from people letting you know. But at the same time, there was still some draw within it. And actually what I wanted to shout out too was, speaking of that, I'm glad that you knew once you started the classes and all that you could handle it and that you could do all those things. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't towards college that you finally realized like what part you really wanted to focus on. But actually even before that, nursing is rough, y'all. So I heard about it. Like it's a lot of classes that are very challenging. Mm-hmm. So like it ain't for the weak, you know what I mean? So like that's why I'm like, although, I mean, let me know. Do you feel like it was actually not as?
I don't know. I mean, like life ain't for the weak.
Yeah. Okay. True. Yeah.
Right?
Good point.
I mean, there are going to be challenges regardless of what path you choose. Mm-hmm. Right? You just pick your hard.
Yes, I like that.
You know what I'm saying? Like for me, if what I have to do is learn some things, and especially at the time, like memorize some things and think a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Like I can learn how to do that. I believed in my ability to learn how to do that. And I feel like that's the thing that keeps people from doing a lot of things, from making a lot of decisions that could really up-level their life, period. Right. Is looking at it as a huge challenge. And the more we spread that, like that narrative of, nursing school being the hardest thing, which I'm not saying it was easy. Right. Right. But like there are a lot of hard things.
There are. Absolutely.
A lot of difficult or challenging careers to get into. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we feel like that challenge is bigger than us, right? When we feel like because it's a difficult thing to do, that we should first of all do the easier thing.
Yes,
right. That the
I agree.
easiest thing is the best thing for us.
Yep.
But then two, that is something that will overcome us. Right.
Oh,
It's
yes.
a thing to be overcome, period, right? And
Yes.
the only way you're going to know how to do it, or if you can do it, is to start doing it. Apply to school. My mother, too, and of course we always talk about mothers. I ain't going to be long on my mama. But she was a state tested nursing assistant for as long as I can remember, and had always thought about going to school, and had even started a couple nursing programs. Right. And every time, it is my opinion, the thing that kept my mother from being successful in any nursing program was herself, was her lack of ability in herself, right? Like, if you don't believe that this thing that you want to achieve is achievable by you, then you are way less likely to achieve it, right? Like, of course you're not. How?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I agree with that, because it's also like, in essence, we're making it unattainable,
100%.
like, and not necessarily that it is, but it's just that, yeah, we are also creating that. And I do agree that mind over matter, like with any type of thing. So like, it is powerful, like what, how much that can keep you back. But I agree. And it's just what is going to keep you afloat, because the thing is, like you said, I love pick your heart now. I hope y'all heard that. Definitely you got to pick your heart, because it ain't going nowhere. Those challenges will exist. But even if it did, nothing really does come that easily to anyone, because like you said, it does require effort. And then that's the point, because what I love about what you're pointing out, though, is that these are things that you do have to earn, though. So there is that. They're not just giving away necessarily careers. There are some effort levels that do have to be put forth into them. They do set them up to where they are somewhat competitive. So it's not like, everybody's just doing that. However, it's not the reason why you don't need to pursue it. We're just simply saying, add yourself in, to the pool, and be able to like try that and be able to do it. But as you do it, even if it wasn't just the subject matter, but that might seem to be tough and all of that, even just the hours that you have to put in, if you are already counting yourself out, if you start doubting yourself, those things are going to feel excruciating. You know what I'm saying? It's so like, yes, it's not. So yeah.
I feel like oftentimes whenever we are looking at something that could potentially be challenging to us, like, first of all, you're not going to know if it's going to be challenging for you or not until you actually do it. Right?
This is very true.
I feel like a sign that you are maybe on the wrong path is if you continue to try to do it, and you can't do it, and you give up. Right?
Absolutely.
But if it's something out there that is for you, if that's something that you are supposed to be doing, if you are somebody out there who feels like, hey, I'm supposed to be a midwife, or I'm supposed to be I don't know, a nurse, I'm supposed to be an engineer. Yep. But the thing that is holding you back is this like idea that you can't do the thing. It's going to continue to keep you back. Yeah. Right. Yes. But if that's something that you're supposed to do, if that's something you're supposed to have in your hands as an experience, then you'll get it. Yeah. And a part of that is figuring out how to get it.
Right. Absolutely. And I love that, because what it made me think of too was just manifesting your reality. And so like, unfortunately, that will become your reality, that thing will not be the thing you do. So like, or it can be this wonderful thing. And I do love that, because I feel like it is also tied to the deserving piece is also what I'm hearing. And so like, I know that's even been something that, I have been happily able to bring up, because yes, when you don't think that, you are capable of doing a thing, absolutely. But it also can be very much tied to you not believing that you deserve a certain thing, or that like, that is reserved for other people and everybody else should do that and not me. And it's like, I can see where that does come from, but I just need us to know how defeating though that is, and like how much we're keeping ourselves back by believing that, instead of actually, refuting that lie, because that is a lie at the end of the day. But it's just, we can make that into more of a reality when we feed into that.
Especially in terms of deserving, like, what are the qualifications, right? Like, who giving them out, right? Yeah. Like, who's the judge of that, right? When it's you, I feel like we are oftentimes our worst critics.
Absolutely.
We the last ones to give ourselves flowers for the things that we have done, the things that we are capable of doing. I actually just left a client visit with somebody who I was telling you about earlier, who felt like she didn't really want to do the work. She actually has a degree in nursing and is operating as a nurse, but doesn't want to do that, full time year round. Right. And was trying to figure out how she could just do 6 months of it just for the income piece. And she really loves nursing, but doesn't want to work. 24/7. Like
Right.
or
Yeah.
she doesn't want to do the 12-hour shifts all year round. Like, oh, okay, there are some people who really, for them, full-time work is just not their ideal.
No, not
And
at all.
who's to say that you got to work full-time, right? Who's to say
True.
you have to work 40 hours a week or 36 hours a week, right?
Oh yeah.
You the person who allows that,
Yeah.
to be your reality. And so for her, she was trying to figure her way out, and I'm like sitting in her living room like, look at all of this beautiful space that you created, like I saw her build it piece by piece, putting the colors together, putting the the things on the wall, and I don't even know how to talk about the thing.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
even know how to, I don't know
'cause it ain't
much
my thing.
about interior decorating.
I agree.
But I'm like, you're super creative. This is something that you could do. If you wanted to just sit down, this is just one thing that you could potentially do to create income, right? Help people create spaces that look like this, because I'm going to tell you, that's not in my wheelhouse to do,
No,
right?
I would have paid her.
Absolutely. I did pay somebody to come and decorate my office space. Like, that's not for me.
No,
It would take me probably 80 more hours than it would take you, and it still probably won't look as good, right?
It's just at the end of the day, yeah.
Exactly. There are always people out there who are looking for your particular thing, whether that be a company or a person or someone's small business.
Absolutely.
So...
And I do love that, because it actually made me think about my cousin. So my cousin that was on the show back when we were celebrating women, she was also saying, I don't know what I want to do, and like what things. But I'm so happy to report she finally started her little nail business. And not little, my bad. See, I didn't even mean to do that. We're not going to minimize it. Her nail business. Yeah. And so she's taking clients. And I loved it. At the time, it was just, I don't know. But I do this thing, and it brings me joy. And it's easy for her because she actually likes to do it, which I'm sure interior design does for her. Because if she designed her own living room, and it was no effort there, and she just liked it, then obviously it's something you like to do that would be great. Because for me, it is a task. Because like you said, I agree with you. When it's not something that's within, something that you naturally do or gravitate towards, it's going to feel more of a task for us. But like, we would not mind at all, ma'am. You know what I mean? Right. Like offering that service to you. You do that. You enjoy it. Please make it look wonderful for me. So like, but yeah, and just tapping into that. But yeah, she finally did start it. So I was happy to hear about it.
But that's what we often do. Like, we always downplay ourselves. Like, like legit, she's like, this whole thing, like, I just be,
exactly.
Like, girl, what you mean? Like, I just be looking through Pinterest boards, is what she said. I'm like, just be.
Yeah.
I could look at the same Pinterest board and still
I'm not gonna
do this. It's not the same thing, Like, that's like me being like, oh, girl, what you mean? Just catch a little baby. They just catch their baby most of the time anyway. Like, sometimes they do, but I am not a huge fan of devaluing myself. I feel like, if you're the person who's going to tell the story and it's your story, it might as well be a great story. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because like you said, and nobody better to tell that story than you. It's your story to tell. You know what I mean? And 100%. So like you definitely don't need to downplay yourself in that story. And people do want to hear it. So I think too, like we also do that thing where we feel like our voice doesn't need to be necessarily, we don't have a contribution. We don't necessarily have something to give. And it's like, yes, you do. But because you have already, written yourself off, like, then nobody else is going to want to hear it. And nobody else will. I mean, that's really what we're trying to say, is that what's going to happen is that that opportunity will not be there, because unfortunately you have not believed in yourself enough, and you didn't put in the steps to get there now, because you had already figured, you know what, it's not something I need to do, so I'm not even going to try. And that is the part that we want to make sure is not. So I love that, And okay, and so speaking of that, like I'm hearing that, like obviously, you do more. So speaking of catching babies, you definitely do more than just catching babies if you over here having conversations about all this. So like, what kind of work do you get to do now? Like and actually, first, before that too, like you went from midwifery, so now apparently you have your own business now. Yes. How did, can you talk more about how, that jump happened?
So I'm still a midwife, right? Like, so this is still a pregnant person,
right?
Who I am talking about today, one of the clients that I saw today. Right. So one aspect of my business, the largest part of it right now, is the home birth side of things. So people contact me. If we're a good fit, we wind up making plans to do a home birth. We do prenatal care, a mixture of in-home and in-office visits, depending on, what their preference is.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to having a baby, typically the birthplace is their home. Postpartum visits too, we wind up doing typically in the home. combo office visits, again, depending on preference.
Right.
So that is one side of the thing that I do. Now, one of the huge pieces of the transition, the part that brought me the most joy, and still does, from switching from the in-hospital setting to the at-home setting, is that my visit times are just longer, right? So I get to talk to people about the thing that is going on,
Yes.
And the way that we even got to talking about, her plans to move and her plans for her future and how she was going to work was because she's very far along in her pregnancy, and keeps having like Braxton Hicks contractions, and is working far away, but planning a home birth. And so she was just like, oh my God, like I keep having these Braxton Hicks contractions. I'm pretty sure they're Braxton Hicks. And, and was talking herself out of the birth, the labor triage, right? Like she was just texting me to let me know that she was having these thoughts, but she didn't even really think she was in labor. And so that to me was a sign, especially because I know her and I have noticed these, this isn't the first pregnancy I've taken care of her, and she's had this happen earlier in her pregnancy, where this is like her pattern of things, right? Like when she starts to get anxious, she will associate it with her pregnancy.
Oh.
So number one, the longer visit times help me to notice these patterns in people, right? And to build relationships with people that help me, help them figure out what's going on with them.
Right.
But two, it gives me more time to suss out any issues, right? Like to help people kind of process some things or whatever. Right. And so that's been the best thing about having my own business, is deciding how long I get to focus on people and what we get to focus on. Right. So that's the home birth piece of it, and then the other arm is the electronic or online education side of things, because I'm one person only able to service well, right, to actually provide high level of care to a small number of people. But there are so many people who I believe will benefit from some of the things that I teach my clients, just based on what it is that they say to me and what, feedback that I've gotten in the past. And so this next phase of my business is focused on me putting a lot of the things that I have in my head, my own personal experiences and the past experiences of my clients, into, online instructional models. So.
Okay. All right. And then, and I do love, that's not something I thought about, because I do think that in hospitals, absolutely, I figured that would be a disadvantage, is that, because naturally they just have to schedule a lot of appointments. No, you can't, if you in there long talking that much, no, we're not, I'm saying, that's going to make some people upset, because other people about to be late now, you holding things up.
Your 10 to 15 minutes.
Exactly. We got to go. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even think about that. That's such a great advantage that, of course, this opens the door to. But did you always know when you were in the hospital setting that you were going to eventually do this? Did it start there, or when did you decide?
So, the midwifery program that I went to spent a decent amount of time preparing us in ways for starting a business plan. What would this look like in an entrepreneurial model as a midwife?
Okay.
So I thought maybe, and at the time I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'm gonna start a birthing center or whatever.
Right.
And then I didn't feel, again, when I graduated, I didn't even feel like I was necessarily supposed to be somebody's midwife, right? That took a lot of feedback, and
there you go.
I was seeking validation and things like that at that time. So I definitely wasn't in a position mentally to also be a business owner, right? Because there's the midwife, right, who shows up, right, that I was, for multiple years, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So working at two of the major hospitals as a midwife, in this area, I definitely felt like, there was an advantage to just going there.
Yep.
And doing the work, right? When I started the business, it was true that I had to do this work, the midwifery work, and then build the business. And so, at the time, I would say, did I know that I wanted to do it? I thought I did. Did I know what it was that it meant to start a business? No, I didn't. I didn't fully understand that until I actually started the business.
Okay.
But I will say that since starting it, I feel like, why in the world did I ever do anything else?
Okay. Yep. It just clicks.
Yep.
It makes sense.
Definitely. It's definitely my lane.
Nice.
But it's like I said, stuff just keep happening to me, man. I just follow it.
Okay.
I just follow it. I listen to my intuition a lot. It's something that it's the only reason why I've gotten where I've gotten.
Right.
Period.
And
I mean, what I'm supposed to do. I walk my path.
And how do you feel like those ideas come to you? Like, just, is it that you open yourself up at all to that? Or like, you know what I mean? What?
Yeah. So like, I mean, I would say if there is an opportunity that presents itself to me,
Right.
I will always consider it. I mean, I consume knowledge and information in the same way. So if I'm reading a book, even if most of the contents of it I know or I think don't really speak to me in the way that I think right now,
Right.
I'm still, as I'm reading, open to the possibility that I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm either going to I'm going to double down on what it is I thought before,
Right.
or it could potentially change something. And so that's literally how I look at life. The only thing that I feel like I'm fixed on right now in my life is how many kids I'm having. 3, the 3 I got.
That's it.
I'm pretty sure it's a wrap for that. But everything else, like many other things, like if an opportunity presents itself and it seems like it's appealing to me, I don't mind walking down the path of what will my life look like if that happened? How could this potentially add to my life? And if it's something that feels right, I don't have any problem jumping off the bridge.
Yeah, exactly. And trying it, at least.
Yep. I'll try it.
Right. Worth the risk. Nonetheless.
I mean, not only that, but it's like, I know that I fully believe. And this is the part about believing in yourself that I know helps me. But I fully believe 100% that no matter what it is that I do, even if I fail at this particular thing, I'm going to be good at the next thing that I try, right? Like, I know I'm going to eventually get on my feet, period. I have no doubts about that. And that, I think, is what has put me in a position to achieve the things that I've achieved.
Absolutely. And I mean, and like I said, it's what helps, to be able to, keep doing that and move to these other heights, like, and unlock them. I mean, because in the process too, I'm definitely hearing a lot of evolving that happens and a lot of like development, 100%. But to get to those levels, yeah. I mean, it definitely does take that and being willing to try those things and like definitely pushing yourself. So like, have you also feel like you've gone past your comfort zone in any of these things and like,
that's the challenge. That's the challenge. The challenge is pushing yourself.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Me,
right?
Because I willingly and gladly jump off of bridges, right? Like that's what I do.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I mean, clearly not. I don't jump off no actual bridge. No,
yeah, we're not recommending that. You didn't hear us say that.
I don't do that. Not even with a bungee cord. I'm not that type of person. But I mean, in terms of what I do, relationship wise. Vocationally, right? So the crafts that I get into, any sort of business or personal development thing, I'm willing to try it.
Right.
I'm willing to try it. What was the question?
Oh, comfort zone. So have you ever pushed yourself past it?
Yes. So have I pushed myself past my comfort zone? Again, because the threshold is so high? Not really. I would say that business-wise, I'm starting to.
Okay.
I'm starting to. But I hadn't before.
Okay.
It was probably a whole lot of ignorance, right, on my part. But for sure, when it came to going to school, going away, joining the Peace Corps, going to graduate school, even starting this business, even starting my home birth practice.
Right.
It did not seem like this huge impossible thing to me. I didn't feel like I was pushing myself. I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Right. It actually did feel right.
Yeah. But I'll say now, and what I've decided to take on responsibility wise in terms of replicating what it is that I do with my clients for a larger, like growing it, right? Right. Trying to scale this business is a challenge for sure. That I feel like I'm absolutely out of my league. I still feel like it's going to happen. Like I fully believe that I'm going to be successful. But I am starting to get out of my comfort zone. The things that I have to do are so different from everything else that I've had to do. Right. Everything else kind of seemed like a natural progression to me for whatever reason. But now the things that I have to do in order to scale this business to even promote it, because most of my clients have been through word of mouth until recently, even my home birth clients. So I hadn't even had to do a whole lot of work in terms of like marketing and sales. So
which is awesome.
Exactly.
Right.
But so now trying to scale it and,
right.
you know, moving into, you know, the more like educator role.
Type of role, yep.
Exactly. That is, I would say.
That's gonna be it.
That's a little challenging.
Yeah. What you gonna take on though? Because you know you take on challenges.
Yeah.
But,
or maybe it's just that I love operating in that zone of discomfort. Maybe that's what it is. I know that there's growth on the other side of that.
Hey. Okay.
I know there's growth on the other side of that. I will go as far. I was looking at you because I was about to say I might be addicted to that. I think that's true. So I'm gonna just say it out loud.
Okay, we just gonna admit it.
I'm gonna just say it out loud. When I start to get comfortable, I start to look for how I can make myself more uncomfortable. That's probably a better way of saying it. That's probably true. Look at you with the deep question.
Oh yeah, hey. I mean, you know, we just like. I
think that's what it. Why are you like? Yeah,
right.
I'm just deep like that.
That's just me. Yeah, no. Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's more of what it is. That sounds more true to me.
Okay.
That sounds more true to me. Is that I seek out the discomfort, that discomfort zone.
I mean, and of course, now the thing is though, even though you have said that, which, you know, thank you for sharing that, you know, that's part of it. But I mean, I definitely hear a lot of great benefits to that though. There are some benefits that it can lead you to, because as you can see, you know, it challenged you to try on these new things, take on these new possibilities. And like you said, it didn't feel wrong to you because you are so used to being able to push yourself and do that. So for you, it wasn't foreign to necessarily go into that place. But I feel like, yes, where it can be, you know, challenging is just that, you know, are you also able to celebrate the successes along the way and still feel happy where you're at, since you're always on to the next thing? You know, I'm just curious.
So that's my struggle.
Okay.
That's for sure my struggle. That's something that, especially on the spiritual side. So, I had completely, at least tried to ignore that part of my life, like that side of me. For a very long time, and I'm just now tapping into that. For sure, I'm the type that is always thinking about the next thing that I'm going to do, and I oftentimes will live in that space. But now first of all, I have so many great things going on, and I've had things going on in the past that I didn't necessarily, you know, give myself flowers for. I didn't truly appreciate in the moment. And when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, you know, like that was dope or whatever. And I never really even had a brunch to celebrate it, or, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Just had time to reflect on it in the moment, right? Like, even if I didn't make a huge deal out of it. And so now, especially now that I have, you know, these kids and this husband, I'm not just trying to, I am spending a lot more time in the present. And so that's more challenging though. That is actually more challenging than like the business side for me, or career period, right? For me, I feel like the deepest part about it is that when it comes to how you operate on the career side, especially because I've already proven to myself that I can do hard things. When it comes to like career, I have no doubts. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much more controllable, right? Like, you do these things. Somebody done figured it out. I know I can figure it out. You don't got to be the super smart. I see people doing the things, and I know they ain't super smart, and they're doing the things, right? Like, I know I can do hard things, and so that's what helps me to excel in the, you know, career wise, in terms of like education wise and stuff like that, how I prepare myself. But when it comes to relationships, when it comes to family, period, right? So like my mother, sister, brothers, you know, everybody, my grandmother, grandmothers, you know, all of those types of relationships are, because they involve other people, and sometimes a lot of other people, they're just less predictable. And in that, I'm not as comfortable operating. So that's more where I struggle at, is excelling in those particular relationships. I don't struggle because it's linked to business. I don't struggle with the relationships that I build with my clients.
I feel it.
Ain't that something?
All right. Yeah, that is. Yeah. It's definitely fascinating when we think about it like that.
Because I have no problem systematizing it. But I feel like when it comes to like the relationships that I have with my daughters, like I feel like if I structure it too much or pay too close attention, like is it real? Or, like I talk myself out of doing the things in the business sphere, and not that everything is going to translate directly anyway, but doing the things in the business sphere and applying those same things to the rest of my life.
That is a word though, because I'm like, and because
balance.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, now mind you, was you saying that though? I was thinking like, but it is still dope though that you are so business minded and you can do that, because there are a lot of people like we're talking about like, hey, and if you have a business idea, again, if it's ever a sign, y'all better take these, you know what I mean, to start it, you know what I mean, like why not? I mean, maybe if it's like sparking something for you, like please don't, like we said, don't let yourself be the reason why you're holding yourself back, or just because of that doubt, whatever, maybe there is something you need to start. But it's like, too, I love that you already have that. And so that piece for sure comes naturally to you. And for others, it doesn't, though. Like, that's the thing. They may have these great ideas, but they aren't such good about starting it. You know what I mean? And they'll like sit on that idea forever and not even do anything with it or whatever like that. And meanwhile, you don't have issues in that area. But when it comes to other things that sometimes we think should be, not necessarily are necessarily the easier things, but should be the easier thing. It isn't, though. Like, that's the thing.
Again, everybody is different, right? And literally nobody's perfect. Everybody got a struggle.
Yep.
Literally everybody has a struggle.
Yeah, we definitely.
And what gives me hope, and what propels me in my home life is the same thing that propels me in my business life. That part is not, I'm still the same person in that. And I fully believe in my abilities to improve my home life. You know what I'm saying? My personal life, I should say. Like 100%.
Absolutely. And I love that in the process of you saying that though, like, and even with our kids, you're saying that, like, sometimes we can't, like, we definitely got to have structure though. We definitely can't say that without kids. I mean, the structure has to be there, you know what I mean? There has to be organization, but sometimes it does require not over structuring it and just living with them, especially because they are kids, you know what I mean? And a lot of times it is just, building opportunities and environments of joy, you know what I mean? And just letting them be who they are, children who are figuring it out, who just want to smile, who want to feel protected, who just want to feel safe, and all of those things. And once those things are taken care of, just enjoying life with them. And so, but sometimes that is a hard part, especially when you are used to preparing, but also like hearing that, I can see that though, because like you said, it's also like, within the locus of control. And so sometimes it is nicer to know that a thing that I, have more control over, I can see that output more clearly too. And I ain't gonna lie, with being a parent, it's not as simple. Like the input does not equal this exact output. Like, it's not calculated.
Y'all. No matter how many times you say the thing, you model the thing, sometimes the way that it is interpreted by your spouse, your cousin, your mother is not, it don't hit right. It don't. It don't land at all.
And sometimes it don't land, period. You like, dang, that's not what I meant, like, at all. Agreed.
For sure. So for that reason, I had just been a little bit more avoidant and just trying to stick to the zone of like, this thing, I know how to do this, right? Like that brings me a lot more pleasure, a lot more to like good dopamine response, right?
Whereas, absolutely. Yes, exactly.
Whenever it's involving other humans and it's not in a controllable, like no time limit. Every time I go home, I got these kids, I got this dog, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever it's not controllable like that, it's a little bit different. It's just for me.
Yeah, absolutely is. But it is. It's a different challenge, like you said, in its own way. But it definitely has its own rewards too that are unlike 100%. Anything. Yeah, that too. I mean, because of course, like when you're building your family and all that. Yeah, I agree. I'm sure.
It's actually more important to me.
Yeah,
it's more important to me.
Right. To be able to feed into. Look at that. And you finally have, like you said, the amounts that you're capped at, so you ain't add no more, at least.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, children to that. But now you get to, and so because you're there now, now you can add on this new challenge of just enjoying it and being able to grow that, and have it. And I did hear this educational piece that you want to also add that. But with that, one educational thing that I would love for you to touch on is, so speaking of like the advantage of, now that you have your own business, you don't have to stick to the hospital times, you know what I mean? You can actually get to know people and like all these wonderful things, which I feel like is such a great way to do healthcare. You know what I mean? Like, so how would you not if you don't know the actual person and, you know, like their wants and needs and all those things? And because as we've talked about, physical health and mental health are inextricably combined. You cannot
100%.
just say like, oh yeah, you're going to deal with one, not the other. I just heard somebody today that was saying that they were talking to their family member and they were saying that like, no, I don't do therapy. They do meds, but like not therapy. I was like, okay, because that's not, you need to, it doesn't go together, but okay. So, you know, interesting. But I also was wondering the difference, speaking of hospitals and home births. So like, what are the benefits? Because, you know, a lot of us have heard, you know, you need to be in the hospital when something goes wrong and like all these things. What are the benefits of like a home birth and why?
So where you give birth is very, very, very much personal, right? Like,
Yes.
The best place for you to have your baby is absolutely subjective. So I just want to start with that.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Makes sense.
What we have going on right now is, and it's all over the media, anybody who gets pregnant is a person of color is hearing about how women of color, especially Black women, are being treated in the hospitals, what our maternal mortality rates is, right?
Yes.
The amount of Black women who pass away,
Right.
The amount of Black babies who pass away,
Yes.
and how exponentially greater that's happening in our community than it is happening to literally any other community, right? But especially when we're compared to our white counterparts, it's like fivefold increase in some cases. And so that creates this space where many people who get pregnant and who happen to be Black start off with a whole lot more fear than is usual, right? Like, it's that added on, like, now I gotta go here, and how am I gonna be treated here? There are so many people who inquire about my home birth services, who, and I say that because it's not even that well known, right? Like, that's another part, right? Most of my clients have been referral based, and so I haven't even gotten into, you know, marketing and making it more well known even in this area. And so the people who are coming to me are mostly first time moms who are just like, I don't want to go there. Right. Like, all the stuff I hear about that, like, first of all, there's labor and birth, right, which can be very challenging. Yep. You know, and especially whether you're going the natural route or having an epidural or other medications, right? But then on top of that, you got to deal with the, you know, the potential for, you know, losing your life or not being hurt or otherwise being traumatized. Yeah. And so, for me, the main difference that I think home birth makes over hospital birth is that, number one, it's more comfortable because you're in your own home. Absolutely. Right? Like, I'm not going to go in there and start messing with your thermostat or cutting your lights on or off or telling you what you're going to do in your own home. Right. You know, right? But then another piece of that is, like, for people who are planning home births, is they get to choose their team, right? So, like, I tell you in labor and you come over, right? Or I do, right? Like, and that goes for family. That goes for if you're hiring a doula, if you're hiring a midwife, like any of that, right? And I see you throughout your pregnancy, and I see you for more time than in there, right? So, like, the hospitals, I don't know how you really get to know. I tried it. I tried to get to know people in 15-minute intervals, you know, over the span of their pregnancy, you know, but how can I better serve you, learn how to better serve you when I only know you for 2 hours of your life, you know? And part of that is us talking about the physical stuff that we need to talk about, and, you know, oftentimes neglecting all of the emotional and mental stuff. So, after we go through all of our, you know, prenatal visits, then you have the labor and birth. Right. In the hospital setting, like, you can go and see, you know, the same person for all your prenatal visits. Not everybody is able to do that. Some people still have to switch up. But oftentimes you can go and see, like, the same midwife or the same doctor for every single visit, but not necessarily have that person catch a baby. Right. And so not only do you have a high chance of having somebody who you've never met there to assist you with your birth, from the provider standpoint, right? Like, the person who's going to help you manage complications if they arise, but then also, like, the different nurses, the staff that you know, are coming into contact with when you're checking in, all of these different people, that's a whole lot of variables, in the same way that, you know, I'm a little bit more comfortable dealing with the business thing because of the direct impact I feel like I have on the outcome.
Right.
When it comes to home birth, I feel like that's what people are most of the time drawn to, that ability to control more of the variables, right? Like I hired you are on call for my birth. That's a part of your job.
Yep.
You come to me when I'm in labor for the most part, right? Unless something else happens, and another midwife has to show up, but
or something.
That's the most likely chance that all of those things will happen. That you'll see the same person throughout, have that continuity, not have to keep telling your story over and over again. Have a higher likelihood of that person understanding you and being comfortable with you at that point. Because what a lot of people don't talk about, I don't think, is how vulnerable you are, and not in a way that like, oh, you might break, but you're very sensitive to people and their vibes, and it's easier for you to understand my level of sarcasm. You know what I'm saying? If you already have been introduced to a few of my jokes or a few of my, isms, versus like you just meeting me,
right?
And having to just hope that I meant well with what it was I said, and then you spending your labor thinking about, this one comment that I made or whatever, it's just easier to be traumatized when you don't know which hand this person is shooting from. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So those are the differences. I mean, there are a lot of differences.
Of course.
Personally, I had multiple. So I've had 2 hospital births myself and 1 home birth. One, I was in the hospital for a very long time. It was long for me. I definitely didn't want to be there that long. My labor was like 11 hours long. I think I was there for like 7 hours or something of it.
No, yeah. That's like a shift.
That was a long time. I didn't even want that for myself, knowing what I knew.
Yeah.
But for me, I had the people around me that made it better. And that's why people do sometimes have like really great, empowering hospital births.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everybody who was there that night was my team. You know what I'm saying? Like they were the people who I had worked with, so I knew them.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they knew me, and they were all comfortable with what it was that I wanted, and they just did what I wanted them to do.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody did what I wanted them to do. So my hospital birth was fine. My second one, I just didn't want to be in the hospital that long, so I just didn't go until I was pushing, which was, I do not recommend. I was pushing in a car. I don't recommend that. That part was not the best experience. But I didn't spend a whole lot of time there. But every time I'm like looking for somebody who not only looked like me, but that I felt comfortable with.
Right.
Coming to my home and caring for my child, caring for myself, being exposed to my children, being exposed to my husband. I did not feel that with anybody who was out during those births. And then when I just had my son in December, by that point, I was like, look, I'm going to just do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to just do it myself. I had a friend who's also a midwife who was willing to come and just, if anything popped off, she was going to help.
Exactly. Just
she was going to help if there was any sort of complications or anything like that.
Right.
But she just came to my house. She sat on my floor. I don't know why they were scared to get on the bed or something. I don't know. I had a real quick labor too with my third. But she came over, sat on my floor, and just watched me have my baby. That was literally what happened.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, which is incredible. And I will say that, somebody had 3. I agree with you. My same OBGYN was with me the entire time of the pregnancy and never not once caught the baby. So I agree with you. I literally, as you were saying that, I was like, wow, and 3 times. So it's not like they didn't have a chance. You know what I mean? Like multiple opportunities, and I got to see it with every single child. Something ended up happening. It was either they were on vacation or something went down. So I agree with you that like you just have a lot more hands in it, which, for some, if that's once again within your level of comfort, okay. But there's just so many other benefits here that I just think it's just wonderful to just consider, because it's just such a great option to even know it's an option at all, and that it potentially could be the great option for you, and just knowing that it can create this level of comfort that you may not have known. Because I definitely agree that I'm still learning more about it, and was like, wow, that really does sound like. Now I don't know if any more babies are in the cards for me either, but if I did it, what I'm saying, it would be nice, to like have the baby welcome in that way. I definitely agree.
I mean, my personal, a lot of people do this, right? They'll labor at home and then just go and have their baby at the hospital, and they do fine.
Yep.
Some people have their babies at the hospital because that's what they want, right? They either want to be induced, they either want to have an epidural, they want to have their C-section, they don't want to, they don't want a natural birth or don't believe that they can do that.
Exactly.
Right? Which gets back to what we was talking about earlier with not believing in yourself, but whichever, right?
Yep.
So there are people who shoot from that vein. For me, the icing on the cake for my third birth, it was shorter than all the other ones, but it was more intense than the other ones. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I preferred it over the other ones for any other reason than the fact that it was at home. And it was because of the fact that labor and birth for me are the only times so far in my life that I've been able to just be present. Like legit in the moment, and not even, because you don't really necessarily always have the space to think as much, right? And so you're in this space feeling like I'm either contracting or I'm not. Right. Like there's nothing else to go on. You don't have to think about anything else.
Correct.
And with my first pregnancy, when I was about to go to the hospital, I had the doula who was worried because my contractions are always 2 to 3 minutes apart. Yep. From the very beginning. But she didn't know that. I didn't know that. Some people do for their first babies have like really quick births. Right. So she had this anxiety going on of like, oh my gosh, you might try to have this baby here and then what I'm doing, and Yeah, exactly. So she wanted to be gone. Yep. And then once I got there, there was a comfort in not having to worry about where I was going. You know? Like, I feel like that's another driver of anxiety in labor is like, okay, when do we leave? You know what I'm saying? Like am I in labor and when do we leave? Yep. And it was very not fun for me to go through labor and then all of a sudden be like, oh, whoa, water broke. It's my second child. This baby coming out. Okay, let's go. Like that part of it, which is not desirable for me. Like I did not feel like that was needed. And I wanted to know what it was like to just be in the place where I was going to birth, feel safe, and just get to focus on being a pregnant person. So when I went into labor, I was not frantic. Yeah. Either I was in labor or I wasn't. Yep. I was like, I feel some contractions starting up. I feel some of these sensations, at least, whatever it's doing, it's just doing. Right? Yep. I'm either going to wake up pregnant tomorrow or I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and push this baby out. Right. So there was a sense of calmness to me that I wasn't going to be able to get if I was like worried about, what we going to do with the kids and, who's going to come over and what are we, like I didn't have to plan that stuff out. Right. That's very true. So I'm like, look, I'm going to just take this tea. I had like some lemon balm in it, like some like calming herbs. Nice. I just drank a tea and laid down, and I woke up a few hours later and I was contracting, and all I had to do was be a pregnant person. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow. I wasn't thinking about yesterday. I was just feeling the sensation or I wasn't. I was feeling the sensation or I wasn't. And that was all I did until I had my baby. And legit, I wouldn't trade that for the world. Right. Like my home birth was absolutely hands down the best experience. But that's because that is something that I value. I very highly value that space. Yes.
Right. Ooh, love that. And thank you, like I said, not only for education on that piece, and I could totally see why you want to now expand and be able to educate those kind of pieces outside of just, the act itself and all of those things. Yes. And so I would love to hear more about that. So like, what is the plan? Like, are you doing like workshop type? Like, what are we thinking here with this educational piece?
Yes. So the program that I am building out, I want it to be great. When I launch, right? So, and it is shaping up already. I'm so excited about it. I have built out a framework that helps people to get to multiple different ends, right? Okay. So if you are struggling with, having anxiety in pregnancy or really fearful of what labor or your birth is going to be like, trying to work out how you might improve your birth experience from before, working on any specific anxiety related issues in pregnancy or anxiety about what's going to happen postpartum, any of those things, the framework that I used personally and have helped multiple women use throughout the past 5 years as a midwife to work through anxiety and really get to a place of feeling peaceful and powerful when you go into labor, because that is the key, right? To having a great experience.
Oh, yeah.
And even if something changes, even if you do wind up having to go into the hospital, or if something happens with your blood pressure, or, you know,
Yep.
your husband say the wrong thing, right? It's not something that just completely offsets you, right? And turns your experience from a great one into a horrible one, right? But it's something, it just helps you to have a lot more flexibility throughout. And that program is set to launch in a couple of months. I'm excited about that.
Cool.
And I actually have a free masterclass that I am looking for pregnant women who are interested. So if you are pregnant right now and interested in learning how to navigate conversations with providers and get what you want out of your prenatal care, that's a huge piece of what it is that I go through in my program. And so that part, that whole block I'm offering for free to people, just a taste of what it is that I provide inside my program. And I'm going to shoot the first masterclass for free. So I'm looking for anybody who's pregnant who is interested in participating in that.
Oh, okay. But come on now, y'all better jump on that. I mean, because like, why not?
Yeah.
But that's dope. And so then this is gonna yes. And then and in the future too, do you see that being a bigger pillar? So then like the education piece, all that, like what other things do you think are on the horizon for the business?
That is the way.
Okay, definitely.
That is a way. That is a way that because I'm huge on like delivering a certain service and having it be done in a certain way, right? And I want everybody to feel how my clients feel, and you know whatever.
Oh yeah.
And a huge part of what I do is in the conversations that I have with people, in the work and processing that I do with people, before or during in the beginning part of the prenatal visit, right? So the physical part other people can do, and you know, wind up having like really good experiences and everything. But for folks who have something to overcome during their pregnancy, they are, you know, either don't see themselves as the leader that they are in their pregnancy, because that's a whole nother story, right? Yeah. Like in becoming a leader as a pregnant person, because that's who you are, right? But for the people who are interested in that or don't know about that, that is who my program is designed for, right? Like it gives you a roadmap to becoming the leader in your pregnancy that you are supposed to be.
Oh, come on. And that's everything, just to be able to cultivate that and do that. Yeah. And we didn't even name it. What is the name of the business?
So the bit is still under 3 Rings Midwifery, right? Yes. So that is the name of my midwifery practice.
Hey, right. I was like, dang, we didn't even say it. Can't even anything. No.
3 Rings Midwifery. The program that I'm speaking of is called Peaceful Pathways Pregnancy.
Oh, nice. So y'all heard it, little
pathways.
Love it. And was there any like special inspiration behind 3 Rings? Like why it's 3 Rings?
Yes. So we should. I need to be shouting this from the rooftops, because I don't do a good job at talking about this. Okay. But it's so in my opinion dope. But so the 3 rings each symbolize sort of like the lotuses of care, of care around the baby, right? So in the center of the rings, right, is this growing baby, right? Yeah. And then you have the mom as the first layer. Right. The second being the family, right? So the people especially the people who live in the household, because they have such a large impact, right? They become the next level of incubator for growing this life and impacting this baby. And then the community. So it's the mom, the family, and the community.
I didn't know that either, y'all. Look, because I was like, I know there's something behind it, but I hadn't remembered what it was. Look at that. Come on now. So that's awesome. Yes. I love that. Yes. And with that being said, if people want to tap in with you, with 3 Rings, Peaceful Pathways as it comes out, like how they going to tap in and know more? How can they?
So the platform that I'm actually doing the best at right now, right?
Yes.
Again, I'm choosing my struggles.
Right.
Is Instagram. A lot of things are going to come out there. Also, my website is www.3ringsmidwifery.com. 3 the number spelled out, rings with an S.
Okay, good. Yeah. I was about to say, is it the number or is it the word?
So okay. Definitely follow me on Instagram and check out my website.
What's your handle on Instagram?
Right now, it's Javon.the.midwife.
There we go. Javon.the.midwife. Check her out. But also, if not, definitely hit her up on the website. Obviously, all the things are there. But yeah, definitely stay tuned, y'all, because we got free masterclasses coming up. Free, okay? No cost. Why not? Take advantage. But also, if y'all know people. So if there is a pregnant person that, if you are a pregnant person, why not? But if you happen to know somebody, definitely tap into this wonderful opportunity, learn more, grow more, and then be able to be part of this great business that is also evolving also. So thank you very much for sharing. Thank y'all always. Yes, for tuning in, for all the great things. And like I said, reach out, if it's, on the midwifery side, if it's also just on the business side, if you also connected on the relationship side and, all those different things, please feel free to tap in. 100%. Yours and any feedback for the show as well. Always do it. But again, thank you. And thank y'all for tuning in always. And, tune in again because we know we're going to do it again. We're going to bring it to y'all on Fridays. Thank you.